Hey, my name is Kim. Welcome back to my channel. Today I am going to be breaking down and kind of reviewing, theorizing season 2 of Yellowjackets, episode 8, It Chooses. So this is the penultimate episode of the season, meaning it is the episode right before the season finale. So a lot happened. I was kind of shocked, if I'm being totally honest. So at the beginning of the episode, Lottie is seriously struggling. It's possible she has a kidney infection. Mari and Misty are taking care of her. I think Mari is taking care of her out of, like, she feels like she needs to because of everything Lottie's done for them, but she's definitely resentful of it. Misty is just taking care of her the same way she takes care of everyone. Like, have a little bit of a soft spot for Misty after this episode, except for the very end. Like, she cares for everyone in her own very weird way. Yeah, your own little psychopathic way. Everyone is like kind of losing it. Like they're seeing doubles. They're they're having tunnel vision. Like they're not doing well. Like they're obviously starving. Akila's mouse is dead, which I feel like I might have mentioned that on this channel, but I'm not totally sure if I did. I suspected that actually. Because when she picked up the mouse in the pantry, it didn't run away, which is weird. Wild mice are like lightning fast. There's no way a wild mouse would have let her pick it up. So I was not super surprised by that. Ty sees her double like right in front of her, and it makes me wonder if her double kind of takes over her a little bit later in the episode, but I'm not sure on that yet. So adult Shauna tells the others about Adam being dead. Van has questions about this and doesn't let her leave to go be with Jeff, and they all head to the sharing shack to talk about it. So, like I said, Teen Ty is hallucinating her alter ego, or the bad one. Everyone is like not doing well with this hunger. And Van digs out a leather belt soup, and Mari tosses it in the pot, which just has like a little bit of grass and like maybe moss, herbs, I'm not sure. And I think this is important to show just how desperate they are. And it reminds me of like the Donner Party, if you've heard of them. If not, go Wikipedia it. A group that had to resort to cannibalism after running out of food during like an Oregon Trail expedition or something. And they like ate all of the leather that they had. They ate their animals, they ate their pets, and then they finally ended up eating those who, the elderly who died. But yeah, crazy that they got to the point of wanting to eat a leather belt. So Ben and Nat are talking, and Nat says, would it really be a bad thing if Lottie died? Like, I think she knows already that Lottie is going to go from this like wilderness hippie to a psychotic, delusional cult leader very shortly. Like, I really think this beating is going to change her. And we see more of that later, like in the adult timeline, how delusional she is. Nat mentions Javi's hiding place, or she doesn't know it's his hiding place at the time, but she mentions him bowing to a tree, and Ben's like, I'm going to go check this out. I mean, what else does he have to do, right? And he goes to Javi's luggage, and he finds, like, he goes to take his drawings out to find the place that Nat was talking about, but the weird thing is, it looks like Antler Queen's clothing in the suitcase. Maybe I'm wrong. I'll obviously put in a picture to show, but to me, that looks a lot like Antler Queen's getup. Akila is sitting there staring at her little mousy friend. She almost puts it in her mouth to eat it. That's how desperate they are. And honestly, why didn't they just throw it in the pot? In this moment, so Mari hears the dripping again, and Ty does too, but the way Ty sits up makes me think it's actually Dark Ty in this moment. So maybe Dark Ty has a lot to do with how they slip into the ritual that they move to later in this episode. I'm not too sure about that. And yeah, Ty says she hears the dripping too, says it's coming from over there. Mari looks at a wall and sees blood dripping down, and she falls back and screams and says, they're dead, they're all dead. And so it doesn't show us what she saw, but I'm wondering if she saw like a vision of all of like future pit girls, basically, or all of their teammates that are going to die. So Matt and Kevin show up to Shauna's house to search it because of Adam's body being found. Obviously, Shauna's not there, but Kevin talks to Jeff And for some dumb reason, Matt is the one to go search Callie's room, which seems so stupid. Like, considering she accused him of bad behavior, you would think that they would follow protocol and put someone who's not like related to the case, or have Kevin search her room instead. Why is he in that house at all? It seems crazy to me. And it really makes me think that the whole Callie and Matt plotline is going to end up bringing down the case in the finale. But we'll see. I thought for sure he was going to find the piece of license that Callie had kept from the barbecue, but I think she was smart enough to get rid of it. So go Callie. She's definitely more street smart than her mom. And Kevin Tan and Matt also go over like photos of Adam's body with Jeff, and Jeff is horrified. They mention the tattoo thing, and they say whoever did this had the foresight to cheese grate his tattoo off. And so that answers a big question. Like, did they bury the body and leave the massive tattoo? Is that how they'll ID Adam? So it's not how they ID him. They ID him because he donated bone marrow to a friend with cancer a few years back, and ID'd him through that. Funny, because Van has cancer, and I have this, it's not a serious theory, but I like throwing crazy theories out there every now and then. Maybe the friend is Van. Maybe Van, on her deathbed now, kind of, or at the end of her life, she is feeling guilt for all the things that they did, and she is going to try and bring the group down. Maybe she and Walter are working together. So yeah, you heard it here first. Van, Walter, Adam working together. Maybe. So in the sharing shack in the adult timeline, Jessica Roberts comes back up. I really miss her, by the way. She was a great character from season 1. And Misty tells the group that she got rid of her. And the way she says it just really makes me think she has done this before. Like, she's a closer, right? And so I'm very curious who else she may have killed, especially because Shauna in the last episode referred to her as... So in the sharing shack, all of the adult secrets come to light. The fact that Ty hired Jessica Roberts, the fact that Misty killed her, and also the fact that Jeff blackmailed the group. I knew that Misty would figure that out based on like what Randy said on the vote when he's like, what is this about Jeff? Like, I was surprised she didn't figure it out sooner, but yeah, knew that was going to come up and bite Shauna in the ass. But funny enough, like, they're mad, but they're not that mad. Like, it just shows, like, what happened in the wilderness is so much worse. They're just like, oh, you murdered someone. Oh, you let your husband blackmail us. Like, And Shauna also says, interestingly, she was like, I didn't tell you guys, because if it was your spouse that did it, I probably would kill them. Like, man, they are vicious. And you kind of forget that sometimes when you see them living their normal lives, but this is just always bubbling beneath the surface. So there's a scene of Javi and Nat kind of connecting. Nat makes him some mittens, and Travis is watching, and he goes over and tells Nat, like, I'm really sorry I ever made you feel like a bad person. He recognizes her for the imperfect person that she is, but she is truly a good person, I think. Meanwhile, Misty, like I said, she is caring so well for Lottie. She's sleeping next to her, making sure she has everything she needs. And Lottie turns to her and says, if I die, don't waste my body. And this scene reminds me of like the Andes plane crash, where the survivors, they would give permission whether the rest of the group could eat them or not. And if they didn't give permission, they did not eat them. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention too, in the scene where everything comes to light in the adult timeline. So I guess Jeff did send the postcards. Like, I think a lot of us were thinking that the postcards were separate from the blackmail, but no, I think he did send them because they were like, oh, so your husband sent the postcards? I mean, I think they threw that in there just to let us know, like, no, that plot line is wrapped up. I thought for sure it was like Lottie that did it, but oh well. And we get to see Walter's house. His house is perfect. Love his outfit. And he is working on this massive puzzle, which looks like so much fun. Because, apparently, yeah, I know how to have fun. He sees on Reddit that Adam's body has been found. And he ends up putting in some kind of anonymous tip to the police department. So I'm curious what he's doing there. And he also grabs a purple outfit before he leaves the house. So he's obviously headed to the cult. But what is he gonna do with the police? Like I think he's pretty smart. I'm curious what he's gonna do. Maybe throw in a new suspect or something to throw off, to throw suspicion off of Shauna. I don't really know. But in the preview for the next episode, we see him with Jeff, and it looks like they're trying to move a body, which seems weird to me. And I don't know how they could possibly get into the morgue and get away with it, but we'll see. So Misty in the teen timeline comes downstairs and tells the rest of the group what Lottie said about not wasting her body. And Ty says, we need to find a way to stay alive. And I'm really curious, is that Dark Ty saying this? Did she inspire all of these events that end up coming up? Because I feel like actual Ty maybe would have been more of the voice of reason, but it's really hard to say. So she says, we need to find a way to stay alive. And it goes directly to the card drawing scene, which was absolutely incredible. Holy crap. That was a stressful few minutes to watch. So we get to see what happens with the queen card, what happens with the necklace, like how that ritual all started, how the chase started. Like, it's crazy. So what's weird is Nat draws 2 cards. Why did she draw 2 cards? Like, is that why she was chosen? Because she tried to, like, cheat her way out of it by taking 2 cards? I don't know. Because I think it was the bottom card that was the queen card, right? So it's weird. Anyway, so they're about to just, like, butcher her right there in the middle of the cabin, which is just showing that they're really not quite there right now. Because why wouldn't they have done that outside? Like, gross. That would make a huge mess. That and Lottie's pee. Like, man, that cabin must be stinking right now. But I love, too, how we see the antlers line up behind both Van and then also behind Shauna. So we're seeing how, like, everyone takes on the role as the antler queen. So I'm very torn right now as to whether antler queen is imaginary or whether, like, this imaginary presence guiding them, a shared hallucination, or whether they each take turns being the antler queen and dressing up in the robes and everything. Because again, like I said, I'm pretty sure we see the robes in Javi's suitcase. So we'll see. So apparently Sophie Thatcher, who plays Teen Nat, said that they filmed a scene that explained how they got to the point of the ritual, like them discussing it. And I kind of wish that they had left that in. I feel like if they had, the episode would have been perfect for me. Like, I feel like if they had just said, you know, Lottie gave herself for us, one of us needs to do the same to save her because she is our leader. She is going to be what helps us survive this. That would have helped me to understand how they arrived at that point. If they had said something about the fact that Crystal's body is out there somewhere, like, that's weird. Why didn't they look for Crystal first, right? Like, maybe they just didn't have the energy to do so. Hard to say. I think, and I mean, like, they even, if like, they're so desperate, they could have, like, gone to the baby, right? Like, as much as we would hate that, is it worse than killing a live person for food? I don't know, but I have some questions. But with this show, like, I've learned that a lot of the time things don't make sense up until the final episode. Like, there are things in season 1 that didn't make sense up till the final episode. So I'm happy to wait and see what the finale brings us. And apparently the finale is crazy. So apparently that scene was cut just because of time constraints, which is disappointing. Because, I mean, you would think, why didn't they just do a 10th episode? They could have shown all of that, right? But I'm not the one writing this show. So to me, it's pretty clear that Shauna is probably the butcher from the pilot. It makes sense after this scene, right? So yeah, Travis saves Natalie. She runs. So that is how they got to that part of the ritual where they're chasing Pit Girl. It's funny how quickly they go from being sad about it being Natalie to being a pack of wolves, but it's also not surprising. Like, I was thinking about this. I rewatched this episode 2 more times, so 3 times total. And then I went back and I rewatched the pilot, and I was like, no, all of these signs are here. And I gotta rewatch Doom Coming too, because I feel like that will also give a lot of insight. Like, they were almost pushed to this point on Doom Coming, and then they spent a whole winter starving. It's really not that surprising that they arrived at this point. And this is also foreshadowed by Coach's comment about wolves can kill anything if the pack is big enough. This is groupthink, and this is pack mentality. It does kind of It does make sense. And we saw this violence bubbling beneath the surface even in the pilot and then throughout these 2 seasons. But in the pilot, we see Misty letting a rat just drown and watching it with this crazy look on her face. And Van slapping her mom. I mean, part frustration, but part, violence bubbling underneath. Like, I feel like it's been there all along, and this was just their moment to let it out. I also really think that scene in episode 7 with Lottie being beaten was super important because it was a way for the group to justify violence and the pain of one for the survival of the rest of the group as a whole. So it doesn't actually surprise me too much that they went to the hunt this quick. Ben finds Javi's cave, and with the missing lantern that Ty was pissed about earlier on in the series, I think episode 2, and a bunch of small animal bones. So Javi has been catching like rabbits or birds or whatever and eating them, and that's how he survived for those couple of months. So I'm hoping that Coach stays planted in that cave, and I kind of think that's going to be the split into clans that the writers talked about. I think that there's going to be the group of hunters, which has Shauna and the main survivors, and then I think Ben is going to have his own group, but who will he bring? Maybe he'll bring Natalie. Maybe this is going to be the only hunt that Natalie participated in, and maybe she'll join Ben. I think Travis is fully invested in the whole wilderness thing, and I think after what happens with Javi, he isn't going to question it. So Javi tries to save Nat because Travis is held at knife point after he knocks Shauna to the ground and lets Nat go. So he exchanges this look with Javi, and Javi nods and runs, and so he's trying to save Nat. However, he falls through the ice. Nat tries to save him at first, but Misty comes and grabs Nat and says, if you save him, they're going to kill you. And so they just sit and watch him drown, the 12, 13-year-old boy. And it's heartbreaking. Like, I know we didn't get a ton of character development with Javi, but he was sort of like the symbol of innocence, as was the baby. So I feel like the white moose scene was sort of foreshadowing what happens with Javi, like a food source drowning in the lake. Seriously, so heartbreaking. And so they pull him out, and Van says the wilderness chose, and that's where the episode ends. Yeah, so wow. Like, the cast said that episode 6 would be one of the craziest episodes, but for me, it's episode 8. Like, wow, so many questions answered. It was just like, I was on the edge of my seat, like giddy watching this. So many things from the pilot were explained. It was just amazing. It did feel slightly rushed, them going to the ritual. I really wish they had kept that scene in that Sophie Thatcher talked about, but at the same time, it's not surprising. Like, they're losing their minds. They're hallucinating things. They are starving. So being hit with the prospect of food, they've already participated in cannibalism before. They've already almost hunted one of them before in Doomcoming. I mean, it's been a slow progression. I'm finding myself this season, like, everything makes sense as it unwinds, but it's also, so many things are so surprising to me. So during season 1, I thought for sure the protagonists were like the good guys, that they were the ones who were hunted by the other clan or group. And then as the season progressed and we got to Adam's murder and all of them covering it up like it was no big deal, I realized that they were probably the hunters hunting another group, because we know that they split into clans. Now watching, I'm thinking like, it's all one group, and I think maybe Coach Ben is the other clan, and maybe he hides like 1 or 2 of them. And I think that Ben might be alive somewhere, but I'm not sure, because I feel like he wouldn't have let them get away with all of this. But I don't know. But maybe he would have disappeared and just hidden himself away just to keep himself safe. Because remember that scene with Shauna and Ty in the diner, and Shauna says, any sign of the others? And Ty says, not for months. Was she just talking about that group of survivors? Or are there even more survivors that they're worried about talking? I don't know. I feel like I'm confusing it all over the place. But what's really surprising to me is that it's the whole group participating in like a ritual and like standing there and drawing a card and allowing one of them to be sacrificed to appease the wilderness. That's really blowing me away, because I really thought it was going to be like bad versus good, and like the bad clan was going to be hunting the good, but it's much more complicated than that, I'm seeing. Anyways, so excited for the finale. I mean, just like in the finale of the first season, I feel like there's going to be so much happen, so many little things answered. I can't wait. But I think that's it for this video. So comment below with your thoughts, theories, questions. My thoughts are just all over the place right now. I have a million things swirling around, so sorry if I didn't make a ton of sense as I was talking. But I'm very excited. So many questions being answered, and it's just like mind-blowing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video and the last Yellowjackets breakdown until we get a new season, whenever that may be.